Hey, it's Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, former evangelical Christian, now turned atheist. And I'm here to tell you that evangelical Christianity doesn't actually teach people to hate atheists, but it does make them feel incredibly uncomfortable around us. This is because their belief system is built on a very specific story. And when an atheist walks in the room, that story starts to feel a lot less certain, and the insecurity starts to show. Let's talk about it. Most evangelical Christians were raised inside a story that tells them who they are, what's true, what's moral, and what happens if they ever step out of line. When you grow up inside a story like that, you don't question it. You can't, because questioning it feels like you're questioning reality itself. That's why atheists make people uneasy. Not because we're dangerous, but because we're a reminder that the story isn't the world. It's just a story. And once your identity is built on a story, when that story is challenged, it doesn't feel like a debate. It feels like a direct threat. Anything that questions the narrative doesn't just feel like a disagreement. It feels like real danger. Think about that for a second. Evangelical culture ties everything to that story. Your purpose, your morality, your community, your entire sense of who you are. So when an atheist like me walks into the room, it's not my lack of belief that creates the tension. It's the mirror I carry. The mirror doesn't just show who I am. It shows who they might be without the story. And for someone who has only ever known one narrative, that version of themselves is terrifying. The mirror reveals a truth that is actually the key to a much bigger freedom. But we'll unlock that at the very end of the video. But if you've never built an identity outside the approved story, looking into the mirror doesn't feel like a conversation. It feels like an attack. That's why the discomfort is so intense. Not because atheists are dangerous, but because the system never gave people the tools to stand on their own 2 feet. The story is the crutch that holds them up. And nobody likes it when you point directly at the crutch. Here's the part that nobody likes to admit. In evangelical culture, belief isn't just a personal conviction. It's a membership requirement. You're not just agreeing with a doctrine, you're agreeing to the group. You're agreeing to the script, and you're agreeing to the performance of the script. You see, many evangelical Christians go through life just acting. And when everyone around you is repeating the same story, the pressure to go along with it is enormous. Not because it's true, but because belonging feels safer than honesty. That's why atheists make the room shake. Not because we're trying to convert anyone, but because we break the unspoken rule. We're not playing along. This is why everyone becomes uncomfortable around us. We're not playing along. And when a community is built on shared certainty, The person who refuses to recite the lines isn't just different, they're disruptive and make everyone uncomfortable. But it's not just about fitting into the group. It's about how they've been taught to judge your character the second you leave the room. There's also this weird idea that you can't be a good person without their rule book, not because anyone actually studied ethics, but because they were taught that morality only counts if it comes from the direct, approved story. In that environment, morality isn't something you develop on your own. It's something you're given. It's prepackaged. It's pre-approved and handed to you as the only safe option. Your morality is dropped on you and never developed on your own. Someone like me walks in the room and he lives a decent life without the script. It doesn't compute. It just feels wrong. It feels suspicious. Because if you've been told your whole life that you'd fall apart morally without a divine rule book, you start assuming everyone else would too. That's why atheists get labeled as immoral. Not because we are, but because they're projecting their own fears. They think, if I didn't have these rules, I wouldn't know who I'd become. And when that's your internal framework, someone who lives ethically without those rules isn't just confusing. They're destabilizing. They're proof that morality might come from somewhere deeper than obedience, somewhere outside the story. Now, here is the part that they really don't want to talk about. It's the secret fear that keeps the whole system running. You see, evangelical culture isn't actually afraid of atheism. It's afraid of doubt. Doubt is very scary to evangelicals because doubt can be contagious. One person starts asking questions, and suddenly the whole room feels unstable. And when your entire worldview depends on everyone around you reinforcing the same story, even a small crack feels dangerous. Not because the crack is big, but because it might spread. That's why someone like me makes people nervous. Not because I'm trying to hurt anyone, but because my existence proves that stepping outside the story is possible. And once people see that possibility, they can't unsee it. That's the real fear, not atheism, but the idea that doubt might be stronger and make more sense than the story. Inside evangelical culture, the real fear isn't atheists. It's having to look at themselves without the story to hide behind. And once you understand that, you understand why atheists make people feel uneasy. We're living the good life that they're afraid to even imagine. A life of freedom. We're the proof that you can survive outside the story, and that survival exposes the cost of staying inside of it. Maybe, just maybe, you were good enough all along, and you never need saving in the first place. Imagine that. Now, if you like this type of content and you want to support my channel, Please like, subscribe, and comment. I read every single comment, and I love to hear from you. And if you want to do something further, click the darn notification button. It really helps. And one other thing, if you want to help in just a very small financial way, you can buy me a coffee. The link is down below. Until next time, folks, think rationally, trust yourself, and be happy.